How is it that people go from liking the little quirks that we have in our relationships like this
It's a board with wheels.
He's an absolute dream.
to all of a sudden being offended and irritated by those exact same things like this?
My problem is that I hate men, you know?
Stick around. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on inside of your brain with specific hormones. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you exactly what to do to fix the problem. If you're in a brand new relationship, dopamine is firing through your brain as well as oxytocin and vasopressin. Dopamine is a reward chemical. Everybody probably knows that. Oxytocin is the bonding chemical that makes you fall in love and feel bonded and woven to somebody. And vasopressin is the one that does similar things to oxytocin, but it also gets you to become more protective. So at the beginning of relationships, all these little things that we do that we find are cute or neat or a little bit different, they draw us to people. But as we become habituated to each other, those things start to fade from cute to irritating. Before we go any further, let me explain to you what habituation is. Habituation is where something becomes a habit and then you forget about it or you stop seeing the results of it. This is the same thing as if you walk into a house where someone has a dog or a cat and you don't have one, you can smell that there's been an animal in there. Whereas the person who lives there is completely noseblind to it because they become habituated to those smells and therefore they don't smell them anymore. It's the same thing as if you have a wallet. If you put a wallet in your jacket pocket or even in the pocket of your pants, you will feel it at first, but within a couple of minutes, you never sense it again. It's like you don't feel it. It's because you become habituated to it. The same thing happens in relationships. When we become accustomed to one another and we don't pay attention anymore, those things begin to fade. Let's say that you came home from work a long time ago at the beginning of your relationship and you'd worked a 10-hour day or a 12-hour day and you left some socks on the floor, or maybe you left some dishes in the sink because you were so tired you just forgot to take care of them. More than likely, she would have said something like, well, he works really hard. You know what? This is something that doesn't happen very often. It's not that big of a deal. But you get 10 years in and it's irritating when someone leaves their socks on the floor. It's very irritating when you leave dishes in the sink. So as attraction fades for each other, which is easy to remedy, and I'll get to that in a minute, but as attraction fades for each other because we become habituated to each other and we no longer try to find things to do with each other, we begin to pick at smaller and smaller things that irritate us. So the cocktail of love hormones that used to run through our brain and affect our bodies and give us those feelings are no longer happening. And it's because we've allowed them to fade. Let me just throw this in here. Men and women think about things completely differently. To women, most of the time, almost everything is interconnected and woven together. For men, we tend to think a little bit more linear and we put things in boxes. And when we're done with that item, we don't think about it anymore. So like cavemen, sometimes we will say something like, oh, socks on the floor, make wife mad, must pick up socks. And you don't realize the problem's usually deeper than that. That's just a symptom of something that's deeper because she no longer feels an emotional connection. And when there's no emotional connection that is actually felt because lack of dopamine, oxytocin, and vasopressin in the brain, then we begin to pick at other things that irritate us because at the beginning, it was just being with each other that was the payoff. As you become habituated, and if the emotional connection fades, then we need more things to value each other. We'll become irritated when little things that should have been done didn't get done, and it would have never bothered us at the beginning. Before I tell you how to fix it, let me explain this last thing to you. When people are picking smaller and smaller things to become irritated by, this is a sign for you to understand that the attraction has faded and there's a problem. So if you're a guy and you're thinking to yourself, man, she complains a lot about things she never used to complain about. What is up with that? Guaranteed, my brother, you need to look a little bit deeper because there's something that is missing. And as the attraction fades, more things become irritating. I'll give you just a couple of things that you can be doing to remedy this, to bring everything back into order, and to make the problem stop. Let's start with physical touch and intimacy. When is the last time you held hands? When's the last time you hugged each other? When was the last time you sat next to each other during a movie and actually put your arms around each other? Physical touch releases oxytocin, as long as the person wants you to physically touch them. And then, of course, there's emotional connection. This is a big one for women. Men, not so much. We don't really talk about feelings a lot. We don't really feel through a lot of things. We're more mechanical than that. I know that sounds terrible, but it's true. Women are not like that. Everything is interconnected, and if they don't feel an emotional connection, the problem gets bigger. So ask yourself, when is the last time you sat down and instead of looking at your phone or instead of turning on the TV, you actually looked at each other and discussed something that's important to both of you? Now we're going to get into stuff that's extremely important, because if this doesn't happen at your house, it's going to happen somewhere else. You need to have shared goals. This can be some type of an activity. It can be an experience. It can be some kind of a project. This could be a shared hobby that you both like. This could be going for a walk together. This could be hiking together. This could be going for a boat ride together. This could be anything that you both enjoy, but you do it together. And here's the big one. Work on a task together. You need a goal. Find some kind of a project that you can work on together, whatever that looks like, and then spend the time working on it together. This is super important because 85% of all affairs start in the workplace. I have a whole other video about that. And the biggest reason is when there's not a strong enough emotional connection, women will seek it out in other places. It's not that they're looking to be physical, but the problem is men are looking to be physical, and they will give you that emotional connection at work and listen to your feelings and talk to you about your family. But then what happens is a bond starts to begin. And at work, it's dangerous because you have shared projects, shared goals, which means you're working together towards something. There's a sense of camaraderie, of shared survival. And if there's a problem with the boss, you can be mad at the boss together. And that causes that bond to become even stronger. And either way, that's what causes people to go, hey, let's be friends on Facebook, or maybe they connect on Instagram or something like that. What you'll notice is that person will make their way into their friends list, and that person will make their way into conversations. And what you're not understanding is more than likely because you're not maintaining this and you're not trying to improve this thing, someone else is going to be doing it instead of you. In a nutshell, you need that dopamine, that oxytocin, that vasopressin to be running through your body when you're with that person. If not, that will happen with another person that is not you. You've been warned again.